Hi everybody. In this video we are going to look at how to control visuals in P5Live using OSC messages sent from Sonic Pi. Now if you are not familiar with it, P5Live is a live coding environment built upon P5JS, which is a JavaScript version of processing. It was developed by Ted Davis and is a great visual live coding environment, especially if you are familiar with using P5JS. So just to open up a tab here, it is something that runs online that you can do over the web. So this is the basic setup, which if you're again familiar with P5, you notice the function setup, create canvas, background, all that. But what you can do is it will kind of immediately update. So I could just change some parameters here and you see how it is changing like that. I could add like a fill, make it red, and it just, the code immediately updates. And so there's a lot we can do with just that. But what we are going to take a look at is how we can get this up and running locally on our device, and through that we can then communicate by sending OSC messages through Sonic Pi. Now I'm on the GitHub for P5Live, which I will link in the comments, and what we are looking at here is install. We want to do the offline version. Now, the offline version is going to take me to this part of the repo here, and there are two ways we could do it: the basic version and the fancy version. Basic would just be setting up a simple server in Python, but you'll notice no OSC with this technique. So if we're trying to do OSC, that is exactly what we want to do. So we're going to need to do this fancy version here, which requires a node and the node package manager. So those are going to be two things you will need to install on your device, which I'm not going to take you through here, but I will do everything else because on the device I'm currently using, I do not have P5 downloaded and ready to go. So first thing I'm going to do is click download here, and there is P5 main. So I'm going to unzip that, and that pops into my downloads folder, and I'm actually going to drag it into my music folder here. So if I go here, you now see I have this P5Live main downloaded, and if we look inside, there's a few different things going on in there that I'm not going to get into, but that is what we need. So then, assuming you have node.js and node package manager installed, if not, you need to go ahead and do that. You can go to just Google node.js and you should be able to download it for your device. Next is telling me to open a terminal, so I'm just going to go terminal and open it up here. I am using a Mac, so apologies to Windows users, but you're going to have to do this on your own device. Then I need to locate the directory where P5Live is stored. So here it says I can just put CD and then spacebar and then drag it in. So I stored my music, so I'm just going to take this and drag it, and it will give me the location there. Now I could just kind of manually navigate my way through the terminal. If you're more comfortable with doing that, that is fine, but I'm here, and I believe now, just to double check, going to hit enter. So here that goes, and enter. So I'm now inside of the P5Live directory that I have. I could do ls and list, and here's all those same things we saw in the Finder window. Now it's telling me I need to type npm install. So npm install, enter. And so this is just going to take a moment to get up and running. And all of this looks good. And so now what I can do is I'm still inside this P5Live directory, and so I can now do npm start and enter, and it says P5 is live, visit HTTP localhost. So this already gets a server up and running using Node, and so now I can just go to a web browser, which I am using Chrome, and I can visit localhost. I think I can even maybe just click on this link here, and here I am in P5 offline. Now that's different from what we had running here because this is running online. This is going through the website, but this is running locally on my device here. So now I'm up and running just like I was before. So just to kind of show, I can do again backgrounds like 220, and then the background changes, and I can do a circle, maybe like 200, 400, and 100, and there's a circle that appears. So we are up and running. I'm going to go back to that about window though. So this gives you a bunch of shortcuts that you can use, all of which are handy and certainly worth checking out. But I'm going to scroll down until I get to the part about OSC. And really all it's going to provide me with is, here it is, a code snippet for OSC communication, which is Control-Shift-O. So I'm going to, on my device, click Control-Shift-O, and there we have the code. I'm going to actually maximize this so I can see it. So all this stuff here is the code that is running, and there's a little bit up top too. So there's a WebSocket, the setup function, and some other things here. Now really what I am concerned about is this function here, which is the receive OSC function. So now I'm going to jump back into Sonic Pi, and here's where things will start to get interesting. So I'm going to, if you're not familiar with using OSC in Sonic Pi, there's Open Sound Control, in which we can send messages to other programs and get them talking to each other. So we are sending OSC to other programs, and the code to do that is very simple. I'm just going to do use underscore OSC and then the string in quotes localhost, and then we have to provide a address to do that. And in this case, the address that I need to send it to is the import for this program here, which is 12,000. So I am going to use OSC and then localhost, comma, and then the address is that. And then what I can do is just through the command OSC, I send a message. Now that message needs to be preceded by a backslash here, and each OSC messages needs to have a name, which is what I have here with hi. But from there, what I can do is also send a value. So in this case, I'm going to send a value of, let's say, 500. I'm fairly certain this will work with just one, but I may put this in a live loop momentarily. Right, so that's on the Sonic Pi side. So now on this side, the first thing I need to do is let, and I'm just going to create a variable. I'm going to call it size, and I'm just going to initialize it at 0. So in the receive ask function here, this I can print, is just there if I want to uncomment that, and it'll print into the console, but I'm not really concerned about that. So what I'm going to do is when this function is called, it's going to check the address, which is the name, hi, and then the value, which is stored in an array when it is sent. So actually, if I run this now, you will see the OSC sends a message, localhost, this is the port it's sending it to, this is the address or the name, and then you see that 500 is stored in square brackets as an array, which is important when I go in here. So I'm going to start with a conditional statement, which is if address is equal to hi. So I'm going to say basically if the incoming address is the name that I have sent through Sonic Pi here, and then open, closed, curly brackets, then this variable that I made, size, is going to be equal to value, and then I'm going to put the index, because remember, value is the values we are sending, and those values are sent as an array. And so in order to access that first value, I just need to indicate we're going to consider value as an array, and we are going to indicate we want the first index value of that array. And so now I'm going to first move this circle over a little bit so we can see it, and then I'm going to change the size to size, and now I'm going to send this again, run it, and lo and behold, it certainly seems like that is a 500 pixel circle there. I guess I could maybe run these side by side. Why don't we try that just momentarily? Just kind of move this here, and I will move this here, and now I'm going to change this to like 200 and run it. And then I have to click on this just to make it work, but maybe I'll make this 300, run it, and then it updates there. So that is how we do it. So that's me sending these OSC messages into P5.js. I'm gonna make this big and make this big and just show you a couple other things here. So I'm now gonna make a live loop. I'm just gonna call it A. I'm gonna put this in here. I'm going to have this sleep for 1, and now I'm going to a random integer between, say, 50 and 500. And so now I'm going to run it. And so you see it's sending that. And if I swap back over here into P5LIVE, you see that that circle is changing based on what I have here. And of course, just for fun, I could have a note playing, or just to add some sound to it here. So for this tutorial, I'm not really going to get into doing anything too musical with it. Obviously, you could just kind of coordinate whatever you want, but I'm just going to play a little more around with things I can send. So another thing, so I can send multiple values through this single OSC message. So for example, I am going to go 16.times do and create a counter in this do loop in Sonic Pi, and I think I'm going to sleep for 0.5 on this. And now I'm also going to send I, which is this counter, which means every time through this loop it's going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up to 15 as the last value there. So if I run it, you can just see, so now this array that gets sent to with this message hi now has 2 values in it. and 1, the second value you see is just iterating through in that counter. So if I go back here, I'm going to create another variable. I'm going to call it pos for position is what I'm thinking. And then I'm going to do pos will equal value 1. So this is going to access the second value in my array that I'm sending, which in this case is this I. Sorry, I'm all kind of mixed up here, so I'm just going to swap. That's kind of the orientation I had going. So now what I can do is I'm going to create another variable called w, and I'm going to make this actually width divided by 16. So this w is 1/16 of the width, and so what I'm going to do is multiply pos, which is the number from 0 to 15 that is being sent from Sonic Pi into this pos here, and I'm going to multiply that by w. Multiply it by w. I said multiply. Oh, hold on. Let's see. Something's a little off with my star key here, at least in there. I'm just going to do a quick fix there, and then w. And so now you see that my circle is moving across the canvas here based on the position that is being sent for the I here. So that is just another thing I can do. So just me basically showing you can do two, you can do a couple, more than two. You can do, 3, 4, 5 different values all sent to the same message. But just to show one more, I'm going to do a live loop B. I'm going to sync it with A. And in this one, I'm going to make a different OSC message, which I will call hello. And in this one, I will maybe do a ring between 0 and 255. That is just going to tick, and then it's going to sleep for 1. All right, and in my code here, so now I have this if address equals to hi. I can do if address is equal to hello. I need to then initialize another variable here, which I'll call C, and then C equals value 0 here. And so I'm going to do a fill with C, and then let's go 255 and then 0. And then let's rerun our code here and see if this actually does what we think it's going to do. Yes. All right, so you see it is changing from yellow to green, which is happening because the C value is alternating between 0 and 255. So when it's 0, it's green. When it's 255, it's creating yellow. And that is being sent from a separate OSC message, which is this hello message. And then I guess just to give it a little bit of musical interest, also just to maybe help put some sound with what's happening. I'm just going to do like a major scale, choose here, and then maybe I will do a sample of just like a bass drum to get those going. So you see the bass drum coordinates with the color changes, that is the basic idea of how we can now control visuals in the P5Live coding environment by sending OSC messages. And again, that can just kind of be consistently running here. So any changes that you make, I mean, even I could just go in and do square 100, 300, 400, for example, and the square will pop up. This isn't going to really do anything with what I'm sending from Sonic Pi, but just to show you that the P5Live environment is always running, and anything you add to it will just immediately update like that. And then we can go into our Sonic Pi code, and while that's running, we can make changes. And so it's just this constant live coding environment in which you're changing visuals and you're changing sounds and you're changing the values you're sending to your visuals. So a great sort of interactive of audio and visual coordinated live coding that you can do. So hopefully you found that useful and are able to get it up and running on your own machine and make some excellent live coding, music, and visuals in Sonic Pi and P5 Live. So enjoy.